What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Nothing But Reds, the podcast where we talk Liverpool FC from the American viewpoint. Join with me today, Stephen Norbury. And Stephen, we're doing it, man. This is the inaugural episode. How you feeling?
Yes, I'm feeling good. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, man, for sure, no problem. So, quick rundown what we're going to get into today. Since it is the first episode, we're going to kind of go over the season, talk about how the season went from a first team standpoint, also from U23, some loanees, how the loanees performed. Also talk a little bit about transfer news, new kits, World Cup's coming up, a lot of stuff to get into today. So first things first, though, we got to talk about how we became Liverpool fans. So Steven, I'll let you go first. Why don't you tell the people how you started?
Well, it all started back when I first started playing soccer. I played soccer my whole life from the time I was 4 until the time I finished high school, and then I played some intramural in college. I love the sport. It's always been great. I remember when I was in middle school, I used to watch Goal TV because I didn't have a favorite team, so I would just go on and watch soccer highlights.
Right.
And basically just watch anything that I could see, whether it was highlights or games or replays of old games. It didn't matter. I just loved it. I went to URI, the University of Rhode Island. Big shout out to the Rams in 2010. And I met my roommate, Alexi Godoy. Shout out to him as well. And he was a diehard Liverpool fan. And we played together on an intramural team. And I remember every Saturday morning when I would wake up and leave to go to back to Newport to work, he would be up and watching soccer. And I always thought it was funny, but then slowly but surely he got me into the Liverpool way, if you will. And then I would say around our junior year, 2013, 2014, I basically adopted Liverpool. So I started watching Liverpool. I started loving Liverpool. For me, it was not only the fact that he was a fan, but a big part of it was that they're owned by Fenway Sports Group and John Henry, and he's the owner of the Red Sox, for those of you that don't know. And I started watching Liverpool back in 2013-14, and I just loved everything about the team. That's basically it. And since then, I've been a diehard fan. I've been watching religiously every game, if I can. Champions League game at 2:45 while I'm at work, I'll pull it up on my phone.
Same.
On the computer. Saturday mornings at 7 a.m. before I go to work, I'll try to watch them. It doesn't matter. Liverpool, I just love Liverpool. How about you?
Hey, man, that's kind of where my story begins. And, just for the record, I'm a Yankees fan. So still support FSG, but yeah, just had to get that out there. But yeah, man, so I think I was up in Newport with y'all for Christmas, I think it was. And we were playing FIFA at the time. I think, do you remember, was it 2014, 2013?
I think that was FIFA. I think it was FIFA 15. So it would have been the 14 roster.
Season, right? Okay, because it was the season after Suarez left, I believe. So yeah,
right.
So that sounds about right. So, and I remember we were playing FIFA and we were playing with Liverpool, and I was playing well with Sterling at the time because he was on the squad, and I remember you told me, look up his Instagram, and we looked up this young kid, this 19-year-old kid just flexing on Instagram, Liverpool player, and at the time it was the coolest thing. But you mentioned that you were a Liverpool fan, you had friends that were Liverpool fans, and you kind of started following them, and at that time, that was right when I was first getting into FIFA. So we were obviously using Liverpool to play with, and so it kind of, the roots started there, and then it kind of branched out to me like you were doing, watching the games on Saturday mornings, or pulling the games up for Champions League at 2:45 or whatever it was. And then it was kind of, from there, I just kind of fell in love with the team, everything about it. I mean, the history, and the more you learn about a team, especially a team that you're really interested in, the better it gets, and the more you start liking the team, and the more you get interested in them. So since that time, I think it was Christmas, that's Christmas of 2015, I think that's about when I started liking them, and diehard Liverpool ever since. So it's been it's been a good ride, but we've also had some low points in that time too. Granted, it was only about 3 years, but yeah, and that kind of transitions into our next topic. So let's just talk about the season review. All right, so if you had to rate this season on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give it?
I would give it a 9.5.
9.5. And why 9.5 and not a 10? Aside
Well,
from the fact that we lost the Champions League final.
well, if you think about last year, the other years aside, let's think about last year for a second.
All right.
There was time for probably maybe a third or a quarter of last year where we were in first place. We were playing well, things were clicking. And then I just think our defensive struggles, our struggle to defend set pieces, sort of took over the momentum we had.
Yeah, absolutely.
We started to slip down the table a little bit. I'm not sure exactly where we ended up. I think we finished fourth or third. Which one was it?
What, this season?
Last season.
Or this past season? Oh, yeah, fourth.
So this would have been the 16-17 season, not the season that just finished.
We finished fourth that season too because we had to do the playoff for the Champions League. So that was the fourth spot. And they did away with that this season. So we finished fourth this past season, but we don't have a playoff. We're automatically in the group stage.
Right. I got you.
So
going back to the beginning of this most recent season, before the season even started, I'm talking about the summer.
Right.
I was excited going into it. I know we were trying to get Naby Keita very, very hard. We were really pushing for him.
Yeah, we were.
Work out, but we were able to sign him for a year later, which is now. So he's going to become a Liverpool player on July 1st.
Yep.
I also remember signing Mohamed Salah, and I remember playing against him a lot in FIFA, actually, and just remembering how fast he was and being excited. And then when I looked up his stats, I think he had something like 15 goals and 11 assists, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, this guy can do it all. He can do a bunch of different things. And 15 and 11, those are good numbers.
Yeah,
those are,
yeah, absolutely.
If you want to put it that way. But coming into the season, I was very excited. I think we played Watford week 1. We were winning, but I'm pretty sure they came back and tied the game.
Yeah, we finished 3. It was 3-3.
Right, so 3-3 after the first game of the season. I'm kind of like, hopefully this isn't the Liverpool we all know from the past few years.
Yeah.
But turns out that Jurgen Klopp, our coach, really got us going in the right direction. We played an unbelievable style of football this year. The pressing was incredible. We were able to beat good teams. We didn't lose to shitty teams as much as we had in the past few years, which to me is more important than beating good teams.
No, I'd agree. I'd agree with you on that for sure. Absolutely.
I mean, you play a team like Manchester City, Manchester United, Tottenham. Those games are supposed to historically finish in draws or 1-goal games.
Right.
Never supposed to lose to the teams that are in the bottom 10 of the table or the bottom 12 of the table. And I think we eliminated a lot of those problems this year. Now, when the winter came around and we got rid of Coutinho, we sold him because for whatever reason, he didn't see the vision. He didn't want to be here. We were all heartbroken, but we got better at that time because we became less predictable.
Right.
We didn't have one guy creating all of the opportunities, all of the chances, breaking down all the defenders with dribbling. And I think that gave a chance for Firmino and Mane and Oxlade-Chamberlain to step in and show what they were capable of, because we didn't have this one guy with all the attention on him doing what he does. And Coutinho is a great player, but selling him was the best thing we ever did. In the second half of the season, we had Van Dijk, great defender. I think he's going to be great for a long time for Liverpool. We tore it up in the Champions League. People couldn't hang with us. The amount of goals we scored, I'm pretty sure we set some records for sure. And then getting to the final, I was very confident going into the final.
I think we all were. I think every Liverpool fan was confident, even though we were short in midfield. It didn't even seem like that, just because we were on such a momentum wave of playing, of just dominating teams, especially in the Champions League. And I don't think anyone was worried. And even if you watched the final, you remember the first 30 minutes was just nonstop, just pressing, and we had them worried. I mean, if you were watching the game, we were playing well up until Salah got injured. And I think that momentum shift is really what kind of changed the whole dynamic of the game.
Right, right. Once we lost Salah, our pace changed, our momentum changed. Obviously, that's to be expected. It would have been the same thing if Real Madrid had seen Cristiano Ronaldo go down, right? So,
right, same thing. Yep.
Yeah. So the momentum changed, and at the end of the game, it was 3-1. Couple of terrible, terrible mistakes by the goalkeeper, but take those out.
Yeah.
The 1-1 game, we're going into extra time. We're going into overtime, we're going into shootout, whatever the hell it is, it doesn't matter. But the fact that we didn't win the Champions League, but we had such a great year and such a dominating year in Europe in the Champions League, that's why I give it a 9.5 and not a 10. But how about you?
Hey man, I to be honest with you, I'll probably say the same thing, 9.5. And kind of snowballing off of what you said, the 16-17 season, we did struggle against those bottom half teams. I think we, and it was kind of backwards this season, but against the bottom half teams, good teams, top 5 teams like City, United, maybe not so much Arsenal, but Chelsea, they managed to scratch and claw and get a result. Whether it's last minute goals or just somehow getting lucky and being clinical in the right moments. That's what we lacked in the 16-17 season. And going off of what you said this season, I think that was one of our biggest improvements, was to get the goals in the key moments. I mean, just one example off the top of my head, I think it was either Bournemouth or Crystal Palace where Clavin scored in like the 93rd minute
he played in tap.
Yeah, and I mean that's a perfect example. I mean, that just we seem to come through in the right moments this season. So that's my first thing that I noticed the biggest difference. The second thing was the fitness. And I think we are the most able team to play 90 minutes at such a high intensity. And bringing in players, we had Mane, right? But bringing in Salah, bringing in Chamberlain, bringing in Robertson, and actually getting Trent into the side this season. There was such a top quality squad with pace, and not only that, but they carried out the coach's game plan perfectly. I just think as a unit, we are looking more and more like a force, and that was never more apparent this season when we're beating teams 5-0 on multiple occasions, where we go through 10-minute periods where we scored 3 goals. I mean, we were just unstoppable. And incredible. It was offensively, we are the best. I really think the best offensive squad as far as pure attacking football, maybe even counterattacking too. But going into the deep,
you have to give Manchester City some credit because they scored so many goals. But you saw we played them 4 times here. We beat them 3 times in a row. Head to head, we're better than Man City. Across the board, offensively, I think Manchester City is better than we are offensively.
Statistically,
right
yes. I get what you're saying. I absolutely agree. But like you said, head to head, that's all that I look at when as far as comparing where we are in our development as a team. Right now, Man City against every other team, obviously they were the best. Okay, but when we came head to head with Man City, our style of football was out of this world compared to theirs. They did not know how to handle it.
Exactly.
And I think that's a lot more telling sometimes than stats are. But I completely understand where you're coming from. And to kind of wrap up my whole season review here, I think bringing in Van Dijk was the best thing that Liverpool had done in the past 10 years, I think. And I think because you saw how, I mean, before Van Dijk came in, I was nervous when we were defending a counterattack or, we were defending possession. As soon as Van Dijk came in, immediately my confidence, after seeing him play, scoring his debut against Everton, I immediately saw how much better our defense looked and how more confident everyone was, from the goalkeeper to the defensive midfielders. He's just a leader on that field. And not only is he skillful, but he knows the game of soccer. He knows what to do. And honestly, man, I could see him as a future captain. You know,
Absolutely.
That's just me though. Um, so yeah, and I just think we had a great season, man. I mean, it was really fun to watch this season. There was never a dull moment, really. So
I agree.
yeah,
One thing I don't want to let go by the wayside, a couple players that I think really did great before they were struck down with injuries
sure,
are,
sure,
number one, Joe Gomez.
yeah,
If you'll remember, Nathaniel Klein started the season injured, and Joe Gomez had to fill in at right back.
that's right. Yep.
Joe Gomez is originally a center back, but he was forced to be versatile. And I get an update every single week on Bleacher Report about Premier League rankings for each position, and Joe Gomez was constantly in the top 5.
Yeah, yeah,
Another player that I want to touch base on is Alberto Moreno. Before Andy Robertson showed what he was worth, Moreno was our starting left back.
and yes, go ahead.
And he was a big part of that. He was getting upfield. He was creating chances. He was playing good defense, and it's impressive coming from a guy that didn't see the light of day last year.
I completely agree. I think that just speaks more to his character, because Klopp gave him a second chance and he showed out. I mean, and it wasn't like he did anything wrong. I mean, of course he had some defensive lapses, as he always does, but it was the fact that just Andy Robertson came in and he was that good.
Mm-hmm.
He stole the spot, and it's not. He stole the spot. Moreno didn't lose it, if that makes sense.
7 or 8 times out of 10, Moreno's coming back healthy, fit, good to go. He's taking his spot back.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the case just because Andy Robertson played so well. And he was just so assertive in his style of play, the way he moved upfield, his confidence. From such a young guy, it was really impressive. I sort of felt bad for Alberto Moreno because he got his second chance and he did well with it.
Yeah.
But down with injury, you risk losing your spot, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, yeah. And if you look, I don't know if the same thing kind of happened to Gomez, because his injury was towards the end of the season, but he was subbing. He was switching with. It was Trent and him at right back, and
Right.
you kind of saw Trent kind of asserted his dominance, like you said, and Gomez kind of fell by the wayside. Like, I mean, he's a great defender, but his future is center back, and I think Trent. And here's something. While we're on the topic of that, let me just ask you a question as far as our starting right back goes. You think Klein immediately steps in and takes the position, or you think Klopp stays with Trent? Because Klein was healthy towards the end of the season, but in the Champions League final, obviously, because he played all those games and he had that rapport with the team going, he kept Trent in. What do you think?
Well, I think it's a really tough question to answer because you don't have a large body of work from Trent Alexander-Arnold. You do have a good sample size of work from Nathaniel Klein, so you know what Nathaniel Klein's capable of. It didn't surprise me when Trent started in the final, or Trent started in the semifinals when Nathaniel Klein finally became fully fit.
Right.
Going into this season, personally, I still think that Nathaniel Klein is a better defender, but I think Trent is faster.
Yep.
Maybe not faster, but he's longer, and I think his delivery is better from
His
the
delivery is, in my opinion, so much better. I mean, the pace on his crosses and the accuracy are way above where Klein's are.
Yes, him and Robertson are very similar in the sense that they're very raw players. They're not very polished. Their games aren't polished.
Right, they're young.
Crosses are very fast.
Yeah.
And they're very they're very wiry, if you will. They're young. The thing is that they're young.
Yeah.
If going into game 1 of the season, I couldn't make a decision right now if I'm Jurgen Klopp, if I'm the manager. I'm going to wait and see what happens in preseason. I'm going to wait and see what happens in friendlies.
Sure.
But I think Trent Alexander-Arnold has earned that job, but I think Nathaniel Klein deserves the right to fight for the job.
Sure. Completely agree. And side note for that, I mean, Trent isn't. I was watching an interview with him, and he essentially took the right back role because he was thinking to himself, okay, what is the quickest way for me to get into the first team? And it was to convert from a midfielder, which he was when he in the U23s, to a right back, and he did it well. His defending could improve, but even if Klein takes that right back spot and clearly shows that he is the starting right back, you can always try out Trent in midfield. Now, I don't know if he will with the names we have in, but that's just something to think about considering he was a midfielder. And that's a good transition into our next topic. So talking about the youth, the young guys. Now, we had a lot of players go out on loan this season. So just to name a few, Harry Wilson, Divock Origi, Marko Grujic, Daniel Sturridge in the second half of the season, Lazar Markovic, and Ryan Kent. And even Manu Ijaria, I don't even know how to say his first name. But and he just signed that extension. So let's talk about Harry Wilson first. This is probably the player that's got the most hype surrounding him or Ben Woodburn probably, but Wilson went and he played for Hull City. I believe he had 8 appearances, 3 goals, 2 assists. Let me double check that real quick because I don't want to be given the wrong information. But seeing that, I've seen Harry Wilson play in a few preseason friendlies. Have you seen him play at all?
I have seen him play. When he's played for Liverpool, I haven't been overly impressed.
Right.
But that's to be expected. He's not playing with the first team guys. He's not a first team guy. He's really young. I think he's played his role well when he's gotten the chance in the preseason friendlies, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
From my understanding, when he's been at Hull, he was playing very well. I think there was a time where he had like 3 goals in 3 games, or
no, that's true.
5, something like that.
Yeah. Let me see this here. So this is a weird. It's not giving me any stats, but I'm pretty sure he had 8 appearances, and like you said, he had 3 goals in 3 games. And watching some highlight clips of him, the guy is quick. And he can dribble. But then again, you got to take into account the championship. The competition isn't quite as intense.
Right.
And not only that, but you got to look at who's in front of him. You got Mane, Salah, Chamberlain when he comes back healthy. He could possibly rotate into a winger position. Of course, I think Klopp's going to keep him at that left center mid. I think that's where he wants him to play. But I think that what's really important about having these youngsters, and I think they're doing the right thing with it, is keep on developing them and keep them at the club. You saw Ijaria just signed a new 5-year extension. Kent at the beginning of the season signed a 5-year extension. And Harry Wilson, I'm pretty sure he's under contract for a while now. But when Klopp came in, the big thing that he wanted was youth development within the team, but also a culture, like he talked about, doubters to believers, all that stuff. And he is a developmental coach. So he's not just going to waste these young players' careers. You understand what I'm saying? He's going to let them develop until he thinks they're ready, and then he'll put them in the squad. So I think preseason, like you mentioned, is going to be really important for the likes of Harry Wilson, Grujic especially, and Ryan Kent and Woodburn as well.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. I think that when you look at Ryan Kent, I'm not exactly sure what he did. I know he went to Bristol City.
Right. He had an inconsistent season from everything I've read. But
okay. When I look at Ryan Kent, I think of Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. That's the player that I equate him to. Now, he's younger than Chamberlain, but they have the same sort of style of play in the terms that they're very direct.
Right.
very hard and they're very intense and they're fast, but they can also at the same time slow it down a little bit and make a move. They can both dribble. Um, so when you look at Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, if you were to pull up his highlight tape this year, you'd see the goals against Manchester City. He had two screamers against Manchester City. One was low, one was high, both to the left side of the goal.
Yep.
See Ryan Kent being that same sort of guy. He's definitely not ready to be in the first team. I don't think that Harry Wilson's ready to be in the first team either. But sending them out on loan is the best thing you can do, because if you have them play for Liverpool for the U23s or whatever,
right,
what they're going to do is they're going to light it up against lesser competition, which is fine, but that's not what's going to really help them develop. And I think you need to send them to the championship, or you need to send them to a lesser Premier League club, have them working with different players, have them able to adapt against different competition, and really just see what can happen. So I don't see Harry Wilson getting in the side this year. I don't see Ryan Kent getting in the side this year. I also don't see Ben Woodburn getting in the side this year. I could possibly envision Marco Grujic getting in the side, say if we get an injury, or if we're playing in an FA Cup game against a crappy opponent.
Right.
He pop in for Henderson or whatever, but he's more physically matured than the other players. He's bigger. He's stronger. He plays for the first team international team. When he goes on international duty, he gets playing time, you know?
And he's in the World Cup. Can't forget that.
Playing in the World Cup. So
yeah.
I could see Grujic getting playing time over Kent and Wilson. But Woodburn is a whole other topic of discussion.
Right.
On this year because Klopp sees something in him, and Klopp was preparing for, I don't know, maybe if we could have needed him.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
When Ben Woodburn, I think he's very good. I don't think he's going to crack the lineup in terms of playing as a center attacking mid or a striker, especially when you have Solanke, Firmino, Ings. Who else? Who knows? What are we going to do with Sturridge? Is Sturridge going to come back?
God, man. I have no idea what we're going to do with Sturridge. I mean, that's such a sad story too, man, because he when healthy is a great finisher. He can score goals with the best of them. But when you're injury prone, man, there's nothing you can do. But to kind of go back to what you're talking about, 100% agree with the fact that Grujic, if anybody, will get into the squad. And I think that's mainly because Klopp likes to rotate his midfield a lot. And not only to keep them fresh, but also to teach young players the system, because it's all about the system. And I think that Grujic, like you said, in an FA Cup game possibly, would be a great addition. And I think he'll play that 6 role though, given his height. He'll play that defensive mid role. I don't see him playing in Chamberlain's position or Wijnaldum's or anything like that. But I do see him getting into the squad eventually. Now, one I want to bring up is Origi. Now, did you follow him this season, or at least follow his stats?
Well, I followed Origi at the beginning. I know he went to Wolfsburg, a respectable club.
Right.
A club that can beat the best teams on their day. I thought that was a good move to send him out on loan, especially because I like Sturridge more than Origi, and especially earlier this year.
Yes.
I did.
Yep.
Time last year when Divock Origi scored, I don't even know, 5 goals in 7 games.
He was on fire, man. He was on fire the whole Europa League run too.
One situation that stood out to me was, I think it was a through ball from maybe Firmino, one of the center attacking mid guys, maybe Coutinho, that they shot out through the defense to the right sideline, and the goalkeeper guessed wrong, and he was on the right sideline, and he curled one in from an impossible angle, and that's when I knew that he was a legit player.
Yes.
When we sent him out on loan, I was a little upset because I thought we could use him this year. Having said that, when you look at the total body of work at Wolfsburg, he failed. He got plenty of appearances. He didn't put up the numbers he should have put up. He was playing against a German league that's very good, yes, but his teammates weren't very good. So he had the opportunity to shine.
Right.
didn't like he could have.
Right. And
Now,
go ahead.
he had recent comments either this week or last week where he was talking about how he felt like he could have done better and he could have left more out on the field. That's not necessarily a guy that I would like to trust in a Klopp system. Guys in the Klopp system win, lose, or draw, score, no score, assist, no assist, chance created, no chances created. They know they leave it all out on the field. And
Yep.
that I saw from him about his season at Wolfsburg didn't encourage me. So Divock Origi, I think I'm all set with him. He'd be a decent guy to have in the squad, but if you can sell him for 10 million, goodbye.
10. Ooh, you're selling a little short there, in my opinion. But everything else, I'd have to agree with. And when I heard he was going on loan to Wolfsburg, I was very optimistic because, like you said, Germany is a very top league, top 5 in Europe, probably top 3. And not only that, but Wolfsburg is a very respectable side. And for some reason, they did not have. They played in the relegation playoff for the Bundesliga. I mean, they were one game away from being relegated.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, and that surprised me. But I think the stats for Origi, he had something like it was either like 5 or 6 goals in the whole season, and not only that, but there was a point in the season where he went through a 12-game goal drought, and I don't know. This is my thing with our players, and mainly Klopp, and you can agree or disagree with me on this. I don't think it matters what player Klopp puts into the system. I think the system is so ingrained in all of these players that a lot of times when you put in a young guy, they do well in the system. And I think that's why when Origi was here playing for us, he did well. I mean, he didn't have a bad season with us. Maybe he underachieved or didn't reach expectations, but he never had a bad season. He was a consistent scorer, and at times he was even better than Sturridge. And
right, absolutely.
You take him, in my opinion, this is what I think happened. You take him out of Klopp's system and you put him in a foreign country with a foreign system. He's going to have trouble adapting. And he's a professional soccer player. He should adapt relatively quickly, and it just didn't seem like that happened. I think maybe he was a little discouraged with the loan move. Who knows? I just think that Origi is a much better striker, not only in general, but in Klopp's system than he showed this past season.
Absolutely. And I want to say that 2 or 3 of his goals came early in the season.
Right.
And
yes.
I got a date on that from one of the Liverpool Instagram sites. And I was thinking to myself, oh, this is great. He's doing well. And then halfway through the season, I hear Divock Origi's in a goal drought.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And then at the end of the season, I heard it was a disappointing loan. He was a disappointing loanee in the season. And then I saw his comments from, like I said, last week or the week before or whatever. He was talking about he could have done better. He's very hard on himself.
Right.
He's something out there on the field, which is fine, I understand. But you need to be confident, especially if you want to play in Klopp's system. Because if you look at Mane and you look at Firmino and you look at Salah and you look at Oxlade-Chamberlain and you look at whoever, those guys are confident in their ability.
Yeah.
They don't have off seasons. They have off games.
Right.
And that's the big difference. If you go to Wolfsburg on loan from Liverpool, you should do better than he did.
Yeah, and you should be the star in that team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's disappointing as a Liverpool fan and as an Origi fan. I mean, I like Origi. I think he's a good striker. And you look at who we have. I love Danny Ings, and I know you do too.
100%. Yep.
I think if you compare, if we're using Firmino as like the gold standard for the center forward that Klopp wants, I think Ings is closer to Firmino than Origi is. And
I also think Ings is closer to Firmino than Danny Sturridge is.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Injuries aside, because if we want to talk about injuries, Danny Ings is injury-ridden, just like Danny Sturridge is.
Right.
But it's work rate and the ability to be unselfish that has separated him from Origi and Danny Sturridge, and that's why he was here. And that's why he got those couple starts towards the end of the year, and Origi and Sturridge were on loan.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Let's talk about a name. If
Yep.
we're going to talk about a name, then Danny Sturridge should have been starting over Firmino at the beginning of the season if we want to go that far.
Yeah.
It's all system. Who's going to work harder? Who's going to give blood, sweat, and tears to win a game? And it's not either of those guys. Danny Ings will do that.
Absolutely. And that's what I love so much and respect so much about Klopp is the fact that he values that. He values hard work, dedication, and effort more than talent alone. And I think to look at it in another perspective, Mourinho values talent over hard work. And that's, I don't know, that's just my opinion, but
absolutely.
That's kind of how it is. So it'll be interesting to see, though, what happens with Sturridge and Origi come July 1st when they're back in Liverpool or after the World Cup, I should say. So moving forward, though, big news surrounding Liverpool are the signings we've made. Now, I don't know about you, but I didn't know anything about Fabinho until I was scrolling through my Instagram feed and saw that he signed.
Fabinho, yeah, what a great signing.
Seriously, yeah.
He paid a decent price for him.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy in terms of how the market is inflated right now.
Market's ridiculous. So inflated.
What I know about him is that he's a team guy. He's unselfish. He is a very, very smart player. His football IQ is through the roof. Like I had heard you mention a couple weeks ago, he's a penalty specialist, which is huge considering James Milner's not going to be on the field all the time.
Right.
But when he is and Fabinho is, it's good to have a choice because there's a lot of teams that don't have a choice in who's going to take the penalties.
Yeah.
And then, so say Fabinho's your go-to guy and Milner's your number two. Say those guys aren't out there, you have Roberto Firmino and Mohamed Salah taking your penalties. What an unbelievable numbers 3 and 4 that you have to do that. That's incredible.
Yeah, for that particular scenario, yeah, we're pretty stacked, but you can never have too many penalty specialists, in my opinion. I mean, especially in the case you're in a shootout. Hey, I mean that's even better.
Yeah,
so,
if 1, 2, 3, 4 are Fabinho, Salah, Firmino, Milner in any order, you're good. Bro, you're not losing that shootout. And if you do, it's luck of the draw, I guess. Great goalkeeping. I don't know.
Yeah.
Fabinho, smart player, can play defense, can play right back, creates chances, very unselfish, can score. Team guy, fast, great fitness, big, wins every header that comes his way. I love the signing. I think we got him on a bargain. Whether he's in the World Cup or not, I love the signing. How about you?
Absolutely, 100% agree. And even though I didn't know anything about the signing before it happened, of course I did my research, looked up some highlights, and I mean, like you said, everything. The guy is perfect for Klopp's system. He presses on his own. I don't even think Monaco play a pressing system. They play a 4-4-2, but it's a defensive 4-4-2. So I think it's perfect. Klopp wanted a 6-man that can play defense, also get forward, presses, and can shoot the ball. If you look at Henderson, the only thing that's lacking in his game right now is an attacking mentality, because Henderson can pass the ball left, right, and center over the top, through the ground. It doesn't matter. Henderson is a great distributor of the ball, and he can also play a little bit of defense, but he does not. He scored 1 goal this season. I mean, he doesn't have that attacking mentality, whereas Fabinho, 8 goals, 5 assists, I think, something like that. 8 goals, 6 assists.
Yeah, I think in that ballpark. Yeah.
I mean, and for a defensive midfielder, you couldn't ask for anything else. I mean, I'm just pumped. I'm pumped that he came in, and then the one that I'm most excited for, Keita, Nabi.
Yes, sir.
Man, have you seen this guy's highlights?
Of course.
Amazing signing. I don't think we have to go into too much detail about that. Let's talk more about this Fakir debacle and this Shaqiri backup. What are you thinking?
Well, I think that the Fakir debacle is not as much of a debacle as the general footballing world might think. Rumors were that we agreed a fee. I believe that. The tough part about football, especially living in the U.S. and being an NFL fan, an NBA fan, and an MLB fan, is that you get a whole lot of rumors. And in American sports, yeah, there are some, but not as many as there are in football across the world.
Yes, very true.
Hear that we agreed a fee. I heard that 3 months ago. I heard that 2 months, 1 month ago. It doesn't matter. We agreed a fee. He came in for a medical.
Past the medical.
They did an intro interview with him. I'm not exactly sure how accurate that is.
Right, no, yeah. They did all the LFC TV interviews, like first day in Liverpool, all that, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, apparently he was 1 foot in the door, and the other foot had a bad knee. Not want to spend the money for a guy with a bum knee. And when I'm assuming we countered to Lyon with a price that was more suitable for the amount of risk we were taking. I know you know all about this, and Lyon didn't want. That's why they came out with a public statement saying, "Okay, negotiations with Liverpool are done in terms of Nabil Fekir, X, Y, and Z. The rest is history." Could we get him in the future? Absolutely. Are we going to? I have no idea. Could it happen in the winter? Maybe. Could it happen the year after? Maybe. Could he sell out and go to a team like Arsenal? Probably, because I feel like that's what happens when you have an organization that's willing to take any big name like Arsenal, like Manchester United. We're going to do our due diligence, do our research, and make it happen. And if we can't, then oh well, you can go elsewhere. All I know is he's too good of a talent to stay at Lyon. He's a French national. From my understanding, he's captained the French national team a few times. He's captained Lyon a few times, if not the whole year. I don't know for sure. But the fact that it fell through doesn't surprise me. He's got knee issues. In our midfield, we've already dealt with issues. Henderson injuries, Lallana injuries. Wijnaldum, he's bulletproof. He's a great player. I love Wijnaldum. Oxlade-Chamberlain injuries. We've battled Coutinho injuries. Across the midfield, injuries. We don't need another guy like that, as good as he is.
I think you said it all. And there's obviously a possibility that we could sign him after the World Cup or in the January transfer window. I don't know. I don't know what kind of confidence that FSG and Klopp have in his knee. I mean, obviously the doctors are going to give a more educated opinion on that. But I cannot bear to watch another talented player suffer with injuries. I mean, it's so hard to watch Sturridge go through it the past 3 seasons.
Right.
But you're right. I don't want to do it, and I don't think Klopp wants to do it either, because that was the big thing when he first came in, was teaching Danny to deal with what's pain and what's just everyday soreness. You know what I mean? So,
right.
Yeah, it's a sticky situation, but I think it ultimately comes down to how much or how bad we want him, because not only does he want to come to Liverpool, but if a player wants to go and another team wants him, you can't hold him there against his will. I mean, look at Coutinho. I mean, perfect example. So
we did for
half a season. Yeah, no, you're right. And
we still were able to get an unbelievable amount of money for him. So.
Yeah. I'm over that. I'm so over that. Like, I'm glad he's gone.
Yeah. Moving on.
Yeah, moving on. So let's talk about Shaqiri for a second. I don't know about you. I couldn't care less if Shaqiri is a part of the team.
Well, I've seen Liverpool play Stoke a bunch of times, twice every year, whatever. From what I understand of Shaqiri, I've seen him play against Liverpool, like I said, a ton of times. He's a very, very good player and I know you feel the same.
Yep.
He's a very good player on his day. He's played for huge clubs. Inter, correct me if I'm wrong, Bayern Munich.
No, yeah, he has. Yep.
And I've seen him make some unbelievable plays. He's so creative. His dribbling is unbelievable. The problem is he's got no aerial presence.
Zero.
Small.
Virtually zero.
But that's what we've dealt with Salah. That's what we dealt with Coutinho. That's what we dealt with Mane. And those three have been a big part of what we've been able to do in the last, say, year and a half. The three of them combined, right? So I'm not too worried about his aerial success. However, if we can get him for, I think the price was $12 million, I would do it 100%.
Yeah.
Because the guy played in the Premier League. He's got experience. He plays on his national team. He's played all over Europe. If you can get him for 12 to 15 million, why not? It's a bargain. What's 12 to 15 million, especially when you sold Coutinho for so much money?
Yeah. And what's 12 to 15 million nowadays? You know what I mean? That's nothing. And if he came into the squad, he would be a squad player. He'd be in the rotation. He wouldn't start. He may start for FA Cup games, League Cup, but he wouldn't be anything more than a rotation player, which, if you think about it, last season we didn't really have a lot of rotation for the front three at all. I mean, we don't have a backup Mane. We don't have a backup Salah. So I think in terms of the squad, it'd be excellent. Excellent to get him in. I've seen him score great goals against us. His dribbling he's a great technical dribbler.
Unbelievable dribbler.
Yeah. And he's good in tight spaces. I think he's the perfect backup for Salah, if that's even a thing. I mean,
play the same position. Why not?
Yeah. I mean,
for a small amount of money, grab him.
Yeah.
He's an experienced player who plays for his national team. He knows how the Premier League works. He's tough. He works hard. Get him.
Yeah. And I think we'll probably see that happen after the World Cup. I just think it was too late, and obviously there'll be business discussed, but there will be no business done during the World Cup. Of course, unless possibly if you're not in the World Cup. But yeah, World Cup started today. First game was today at 11. But the big thing that recently are the kits. Now, Liverpool's new kits. I need to talk about. I love the home kit. The home kit it's not like this color red. It's not. It's a darker, like more maroon, not maroon, but dark, deep red based, and it's kind of like how this past season was. And if you put the past kit side by side, you'll know that this past season was a lot darker. I like that dark red, and I think with the collar, and also the fact that our crest, not whole crest, but the liverbird is embroidered along with the New Balance on it's stitched into the jersey. I think that makes a jersey instead of like an iron-on patch. You know what I mean? So I love the home jersey. The purple one, I wanted them to do another orange kit, but what surprised me was the purple kit is our away kit. It's not our third kit.
Right.
And I don't know. I think they're kind of cool. What do you think?
I like the purple. I think it's outside of the box, but I could see it much more as a third kit.
Right.
Than when I saw the beta kits, say, I don't know, 2 months ago, and I saw the red kit, I saw the purple kit, and I saw a grayish, whitish kit.
Yep.
I thought that for sure would be the away one, and the purple one would be the third kit. Apparently that's not going to be the case.
Yeah.
The kit's going to be our away kit, and if everything holds true, then the gray, silver, white, red kit is going to be the third kit. I'm just a little confused as to that, but hey, you know what? Liverpool Football Club is changing. We're heading in a new direction, and that's trending upward. If you guys want to wear a purple kit, go ahead. I'll buy one.
That's right. As long as you're winning games. I mean, wear whatever kit you want. And, it's a good it's a good color combo. It's very, I mean, orange and purple. I mean, it's fine with me. And I think, I don't know if you saw the pictures of the players modeling it. I mean, it looks pretty good.
Of course. Oh
Looks
yeah.
looks
Oh
pretty
yeah.
solid. So yeah, not too salty about it. The only kit that I can remember in recent history that I hated was the 2015 yellow one. I hated that yellow kit.
Yeah, I don't. Whatever. I like the third kits always because I know they're like super outside of the box and extravagant, and that's what I thought this purple one was going to be. The fact that it's a away kit is kind of mind blowing, but whatever. We'll roll with it. We'll rock with it.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna be an exciting season, man. I think this could potentially be the year that we win the league as far because our biggest issue was squad depth, and now with the acquisition of Keita, Fabinho, Chamberlain when he gets back healthy, our midfield is going to be untouchable. I mean, I really do believe that. Um,
I think the next thing we need to talk about is what we need. Our squad needs.
yeah, and I think that's a great transition. Yeah. So, what do you? There's been a lot of talk about a potential signing of another center back, another world class center back.
Yep.
Trying to see what else. There's possible talk. We're trying to get a central attacking midfielder by trade. So right now we play that 4-3-3. So we don't have that center attacking midfielder. We have the three forwards and then just the three midfielders. So I think Fakir would have filled that slot. But what do me? I think the center back and the attacking midfield would be the next best thing. What are you thinking?
Right. So we need a guy that can score goals. We need a guy who can create, just like Coutinho. You're not going to get a player in the eyes of the world that is as valuable as Coutinho.
Right.
Now, Coutinho was sold for way too much money based on what I knew about him. I knew he's a great player. I knew he was awesome. But let us not forget, Liverpool fans know that he got hurt a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
With the ball in the air. You get a guy like Fakir who could possibly come in, and he's very similar to Coutinho. He gets hurt as well, but he's tougher. He's stronger. I don't know if he's faster. I don't know. He would have been the perfect fit, but like we said earlier, it fell through. We do need a center attacking mid. We need a guy who's creative. Oxlade Chamberlain can fill that role, but he's a lot more direct than these other creative guys. We were linked with Thomas Lamar in the past.
Yeah.
His magical. It's like Messi and Mohamed Salah. It's like a poor man's Messi and Mohamed Salah. That left foot is beautiful.
Yeah.
But
I think he's agreed terms with Atletico.
from my understanding, that is true.
Yeah.
We need a center attacking mid. Maybe not an everyday player, but a guy that can step in when Ox needs a rest or fill in before Ox is healthy and make things happen. He can also shoot from distance. He has a curl. He has some curve. He has some movement on his shot. I think we need another center back, of course, like you mentioned. Lovren came into his own towards the second half and end of the year. But let's be realistic here. Dejan Lovren is Dejan Lovren.
Yeah. And it's about damn time he came into his own because the man was struggling since we got him. Since we got him from Southampton, I mean, he has been probably the most inconsistent defensive player that we've had.
And I didn't care when Joel Matip was healthy. But once Van Dijk came into the squad, Matip sort of took a step back. I'm not sure if they just had a miscommunication between themselves when they were playing. But Matip's a great player.
Yeah.
Love great player on their day. Van Dijk is a great player when it's not his day. Yeah. We need a guy who can be consistent on an off day.
Yeah, and that's you said it. I mean, Van Dijk is consistent and he's good, and he doesn't let anything affect his game. He's always there. He's always playing 100%, and he's always executing. And one thing I'll mention about Dejan and Joel Matip, all right? Matip, the only advantage I give him, two advantages that I give him over Lovren, his height and his dribbling ability. We saw a lot of times at the beginning of the season, earlier in the season, Matip would make runs and dribbles forward into the final third and distribute. You don't see Lovren do that at all, if any. I mean, Lovren is a very defensive-minded player, and that's not a knock on him. I'm just saying, Matip has that ability, and so does Van Dijk, which is another reason why I think Klopp brought him in. Um, from what I haven't. There were only two center backs that I saw that we were linked with. Um, Lascelles from Newcastle,
Yep.
who's been there for a few seasons now. Good player from what I've seen. And then guy from Burnley, Jarkowski or something, or
Tarkinski,
something like that. Some Polish fella.
Unbelievable season.
Yeah.
Also, I saw us linked with Jerome Boateng from Bayern Munich.
Yes, I have seen that. What do you think? You think that'll happen?
I don't think it will happen, but if we could, I would do it because he's got experience, he's tough, he's strong, he's a defender, but he can also make things happen. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
We have money from the Coutinho sale, and the only thing we've spent is on Van Dijk. I mean, Fabinho, we spent money on him, but let's face it, that's just a regular summer transfer, Fabinho.
Yeah, it really is.
It wasn't highly touted. We didn't even know it was coming. It wasn't in the media, so the price wasn't hiked up. He wasn't highly valued by his club. I mean, maybe a little, but nothing crazy. I think we have money to spend, and if we can get Jerome Boateng, why not?
Yeah, why not? I mean, a great player plays in a great team, so he knows how to win. And I think at this point, Klopp is trying to bring in players that are experienced in winning and have a winning mentality. Fabinho's coming off of, not this season, but last season, a Liga 1, or however you say the French league title. Monaco won the title for the first time in, I don't know how long. But especially in a league that's so top heavy with PSG, and essentially that's it, to win that league, that's got to build your confidence immensely. So I think that's good for bringing him in. Keita, I'm not really sure about the winning mentality, but Keita's always just been a top player.
Right.
At Leipzig, at least. So, and if I'm...
Keita killer mentality like Emre Can has. Emre Can's he's a bulldozer.
Yeah.
He worked hard, but he's also smart about his work rate, if you will, if that makes sense.
Yes.
He won't wear himself out, but when it comes time for a challenge, you're going to know Emre Can's coming. And I think Keita's the same way, but he can get a little reckless at times. That's why he struggled with red cards and yellow cards and hurting his own players in practice, like even.
You're absolutely right. I even completely forgot about his own player in practice. I do remember seeing something about that. And I think Keita's still pretty young. I mean, I think he's 23. I actually think he's 23 or 24. He's very young. So
he's going to have a team that has a shot. He's going to be on the team that has other players that are better than him, and that's what he needs. Let's face it, Dick doesn't have great players. They don't. And it's got to be frustrating being on a team that doesn't have other players around you that are of your caliber of skill. For example, when Lionel Messi said that he was going to retire from international football.
That was purely out of frustration. Yeah, absolutely.
He was out of frustration. Yeah. He's a player on the team.
Yep.
Now, he's also the best player on Barcelona, but it's a different beast that we're talking about.
Sure.
Barcelona has great players. So does Argentina, but Barcelona is a more well-rounded team than Argentina.
Yeah, completely agree. Argentina's a very attacking team. Not much defense at all. But I get where you're coming from. And I think now the fact that we're getting all these players in, Liverpool have transitioned from the team where you can potentially have that argument of if there's a superstar, they may feel as if they don't have another star on the team. They may be frustrated. We are turning into a team where every single player is damn near a superstar, or at least world-class footballing ability. You understand what I'm saying? And I think not only will that attract better players, but it will keep players on the team happy, and they will want to stay there. They won't want to leave to go anywhere else because
Salah had an unbelievable year this year. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
He's up the Ballon d'Or. He's playing in the World Cup. We could have won the Champions League with him, maybe. Who knows? Who cares? He set records in the Premier League this year. But having said that, Firmino had the best year of his career.
And it's so overlooked. He is... Oh, man. I can't even put into words how much Firmino is valued by this squad and by Klopp. He's the centerpiece of everything we do.
Absolutely. And you know Firmino's my favorite player. I got all his jerseys.
Yeah.
He's the work. He's the guy that doesn't need to score 30 goals in a year, even though he almost did.
Yeah. So what was it, 27 and 15, 27 and 14?
I think it was 27 and 12.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, either way, he had his best season of his career, and he signed the extension. I'm over the moon about that. I'm so glad he signed an extension.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. But I think we're wrapping up here. I think for the inaugural episode of Nothing But Reds, we kind of touched on everything that's going down right now as far as Liverpool and also as far as, the squad is concerned around the world with the World Cup happening and also potential transfers. I think we touched on everything. Is there anything you want to add, Steven?
I have nothing to add. I think we covered some good topics, and I would just tell anyone that's going to listen or willing to listen, buckle up. We got a lot to talk about. It's going to be a good ride. Liverpool is in a better spot right now than they've been in since 2006. 2013, 2014 aside, Liverpool is trending upward. It's a good time to be a fan. It's a good time to be a rival. However you want to put it.
Yep.
Heading in the right direction.
Couldn't agree more, man. And I'm excited to do this. So, for now, signing off. Thanks for listening in. Hope you all have a good night.